things in life, she knows that she can count on me. And I will be there for her unconditionally because I am that friend. And, just the silly things that's like, I don't even count that as a fight, honestly.
No, and you do give good. Listen, if I needed advice, I would come to you.
Mm-hmm.
How did you feel about who she also turned to for advice? We see in the trailer she turned to Leah Black. Leah's.
I was surprised myself that she did turn to Leah Black. Apparently, Lisa and Leah have a friendship, and I wasn't aware of that because I never saw that side to Leah, but I do understand that she would love to be a part of our show because, this is a great show. And so now looking back, it's kind of like I'm flattered that she would want to do like a special appearance and kind of show us that she does support the show because, she was in the show. And at this point, I don't think Leah's an attorney. Her husband, by the way, is a criminal attorney, not divorced. But I feel like any woman, like our age or that has had other friends or has gone through things like that, we can give advice. And, that's why you have to watch this season in particular because, some things happen where, I feel like we're all giving advice to Lisa, just because of things that we've gone through. But, she kind of needs advice from like a real professional, from a real, family divorce attorney.
And you think Leah wants to be a part of the show?
I think she secretly does. I think so. I think that the Housewives was a big part of the show, and that's another problem that I have with the housewives that are no longer on the show, and then they want to like badmouth the show. They want to badmouth the Real Housewives. They want to badmouth all the women that have been part of it, and just think that you're like superior to that.
Yeah, there's an easy answer when you said, "Do you think they want to be part of it?" And I've learned this as an outsider now. I said, "Do you think that if she didn't want to be part of it, she wouldn't have filmed that scene?" So by filming the scene, you answered your own question. Because I tell her, I said, "Oh, some of my friends at the wedding, they don't want to be on the camera." And one of my friends, whose name I won't use, was like, "Oh, my wife and I don't want any part of the camera." Yet when the girls were having like a little argument on one of the scenes, this guy kept on walking back and forth. I'm like, you know they're going to fade you out, right? He's like, "Oh," I'm like, "You don't have to stand next to the camera." The people who say they don't want it ultimately really, really want it the most. And they just don't want to be honest. Mm-hmm. I think you should say everything you want.
I agree with all of that. Yeah. I think, look, if you want to be part of it, I'm fine. Just stand up and say you want to be part of it.
I don't know Leah.
Shame in that.
I don't know Leah, but if she wanted to give advice and not be on TV, she could have said, "Just call me, girl, and I'll have you for lunch or whatever, and we could do this." But the second you sat there and got mic'd up, you clearly want to be part of it. I mean, you can't deny it anymore.
Right.
That's a good point. Yeah, and not even just with Leah. I just think in general, everyone. Yeah. But you're right. Do you think Leah wants to be part of like the cast?
I don't know. We should ask her, but like what Todd is saying, which is the same thing I was saying, the fact that she did, want to do the scene with Leah and be on camera, it says that, she does want to be part of this and that she does support the show. But that's where I have the problem with that because I know what she said in interviews prior to that. And that's what I have a problem with, just like own it and say, like, be real and say, you know what? I love this. I would have loved to have been part of this. It's not working out for me now because I live in LA, but thank you Bravo, thank you Miami, because it was a great opportunity, and it's something that I'll always cherish, and whenever I have an opportunity, I'll film if I can, like that kind, like that's something I would have done. Mm-hmm. So of course I can't expect everybody to be like that, but it bothers authentic. Me.
Alexia, like I said, she give the advice and she's going to tell you how she feels, like it or not.
Right.
She's going to tell you the truth. She may be sorry she said it, and then she'll own it, and she does apologize, but she's just going to tell you the truth. So when people would ask her before the show came back, would you like the show to come back? It was never, well, I don't. It was like, I would love for the show to come back, but I'm not in control of that. But she always owned it that she would love for the show to come back.
You've always,
mm-hmm.
Yeah. Why
no, I mean, I thought that it
platform,
is, right? And I think it's a great show. And even so, like, I've always been very truthful. Like in season 2, when I had to step down, I decided to step down as a housewife. They did not make me a friend. They didn't. It was just because I obviously was going through my situation with Frankie, and I psychologically and emotionally couldn't handle it. Right. And I had to talk with the producers and with Andy and the whole network, and they supported me to the point I had the same contract. I had everything the same, except when I was able to show up and film, they had no pressure at all. They were so good with me and they supported me. But then, people like to say that, and I feel like some of the girls now, they're like, "Oh, but you were a friend." Season 2, no, I wasn't a friend. I've always been a housewife, But because I was a good mom and a real housewife, I had to step down and take care of my family.
And
Right.
That I was
Alexia's a
losing.
business person, because the truth is, I run a big business, and I know 99 people out of 100 would not have offered what she did. She would have said, no, I'm a housewife, here's my contract, I'm just not available to film, too bad. But she took the liberty of going to the producers and saying, I'm not going to be ready for this. You could demote me if you want to call it that, but I just can't give you the time you need. And the
Right.
minute she was ready, they brought her right back. They wanted her. But truthfully, I don't know all the girls in the franchises, but I know there's hundreds of them. Who would really do that? Like, deflate themselves a little bit for the sake of taking care of the family, but they didn't have to do that. She could have just stayed on board and filmed very little. And no one would have said a thing.
Right.
Right.
That's
But I mean,
true.
I've always been very, like to myself, like I know how much I can give and how much I couldn't. And again, I mean, my son's accident and his recovery is still playing out 10 years
Yeah.
later. So
Yeah.
it was a very difficult time in my life that
Still
even
is.
today is
Still very
part
difficult.
of my story, continues to be in season 5. And it's very hard, to share things like that. And that's why I have like no time for the other girls when they're like making up stories or being confronting, just talking about like, stupidity or making things up, when I have like day-to-day struggles and
Life
challenges.
issues.
And so do many other families in America and around the world. And these shows have
Yeah.
become much more real in that sense, because a lot of things that we couldn't talk about or wouldn't talk about many years ago, today we are. And I think that
That's
that
true.
really helps, a lot of people.
Well, also, like, when we were talking about the people that really want to be on it, and then, they say one thing, that's kind of like, that's all the backlash Bethany Frankel's getting with her podcast. She said she didn't want to be on Housewives for all these years.
And even the title now has something to do with the housewives. And
Rewives,
these
yeah.
women can't get over it. I mean, it's like, it's really like, you see, that's what I have a problem with.
Right.
Because, at the end, everybody knows it. And that's exactly what she's doing. It's like that's what she's doing. And I don't like to talk about
Yeah.
other housewives. And I don't want to talk about her, but you're right about what you're saying.
I mean, it's kind of the same thing. We'll wrap up in a few minutes. What do you think Lisa, look, she's not ready to date now, right? Obviously. But what type of man do you think Lisa should date next when it's time?
A hot one. I think he should be very nice. I think that now she's probably going to look for a man that, is more about Lisa, and is not so like egocentric or narcissist as Lenny, that it was like more about Lenny. I think that now it's kind of like, as I feel like when she met Lenny, he was like the superstar, being like the plastic surgeon, and she was just like his wife. Now
Right.
the guy that she meets, it's going to be like, he's going to be her husband. You know what I mean? Because she's already like someone.
I do.
So, but I just want him to be nice, and I want him to take care of her, and and be good to her, emotionally, psychologically. Money is not a problem.
It's like, this will be the best